So hello and welcome to the video. Still waiting for that pesky detail to fall into place for my 6 things I won't travel without video. So I've had to roll that over again. It's a little bit annoying, but I will explain the problem when I make the video. So instead, today we'll have a video that has been requested, and it's one that's been on my to-do list since before I started the channel. How do I decide which hotel to stay in when I travel, and how do I book it? My attitude towards hotels might surprise you, but I hope by the end of this video you'll understand my rationale. So stick around. Hi, I'm Matt. Over the last 25 years I've travelled a lot. I've lived in 5 countries on 4 continents. I've flown over 1.3 million miles. I've visited over 100 countries, every American state, but I'm nowhere near done. So subscribe and perhaps you'll pick up some hacks, hints and tips to make your next trip better. So before we talk about what I do consider when picking accommodation, I need to talk about 2 things I won't consider. The first is Airbnb. I just don't trust them. There are many hosts that I would trust, including a couple of good friends of mine in Australia who rent their property out through the platform. I just don't like the business model where Airbnb sits remotely and has no skin in the game on either side of the transaction. I talked about it in more detail in this video, but the final straw for me came when Airbnb tried to blame me when a host attempted to defraud us by demanding a cash deposit outside of the platform. The world needs somebody who does what Airbnb does, but from that and other bad experiences, I just don't think Airbnb are the right people to be doing it. The second thing I don't do is pick a property just because I am a member of its loyalty program. Whilst I am a huge fan of airport loyalty schemes, I am the complete opposite when it comes to hotel schemes. There are so many hotel options available everywhere you go, I don't like to feel that I have to eliminate 99% of them just because I'm fixated on staying somewhere that's giving me a free breakfast. Even when I've travelled on business, I've preferred to stay in a quirky, independent hotel that echoes the city I'm in, rather than a multinational chain hotel that could be anywhere. If a major chain's hotel turns out to be the best option, then I'll certainly stay in it, but I have no hotel scheme status, and status plays no part in my decision making. Having status in hotel schemes certainly does bring some benefits, which might include upgrades, late checkouts or a free breakfast. All of which have value, but you are paying for them directly or indirectly. And in my experience, you will always be able to find an independent property that offers an equivalent product, even taking those benefits into account. And they will often still charge you less. There are exceptions to this, one being hotels in resort destinations, where you may well want to remain on property for the bulk of your stay. In that situation, an international chain hotel's offering may well be exactly what you want. But the conclusion here is that I just don't see a case for chasing hotel loyalty. And even if you achieve it through business travel, staying in a local independent hotel will still often be the better option, both from a financial and an experiential perspective, even if you do miss out on some of those benefits. I have a suspicion that some of you watching may disagree with some or indeed all of this. If you do, please leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear your opinions. And while you're at it, give the video a like as well. It really does help me out. So, all that being said, what are my criteria for picking a hotel? The old joke is location, location, location. And as with most good jokes, there is a grain of truth to that. If you can find a great hotel at a good price, bang in the heart of the option, that will rarely be a bad choice. That would generally be my approach, but do others agree? Hotels.com analysed 148 million of their reviews and used it to develop a formula for the perfect hotel. A questionable methodology, but a very pleasing mathematical output if that's your sort of thing. I'll link that analysis in the description below. So according to that analysis, the most important criteria was cleanliness, which received a 35 unit weighting. This analysis was done before the pandemic, so that result is not affected by the increased focus we've seen recently on hygiene. I can't say that extreme cleanliness is going to be my top priority, but it is a factor and I can see how it would be important for many. Second was staff friendliness with a 25 unit weighting. Again, important, but my ideal hotel stay probably involves the minimum of staff interaction, so it's not that important for me. These results are based on guest reviews, so I can see how these two factors are probably overweighted in those results. They are the things that people are likely to comment on. Third on the list was bed comfort with a 10 unit weighting. I get that. The one thing you are going to do in a hotel room is use the bed, so a good quality one is going to be important. Fourth was location with a 7 unit weighting. It's really hard to see how cleanliness could be considered 5 times as important as location. But location is critical for me, so it goes to the top of my list. I always think that walking is the absolute best way to see any city. A hotel doesn't have to be bang in the heart of a city for me, but I will choose a property that is close, which allows me to walk pretty much anywhere that I would want to go. Fifth on the list was price with a 2 unit weighting. Unless somebody else is paying your hotel bill, that has to be more significant than that, surely. It certainly is for me. Sixth equal were 4 considerations: room quietness, whether there was a swimming pool, and whether Wi-Fi and a breakfast were included. Quietness is important, but I can sleep through pretty much anything these days, so it's not that critical for me. Having a pool isn't always going to be relevant, so I'm going to ignore that one. Looking at the other two is a little trickier. A $100 room with a $10 fee for excellent Wi-Fi is clearly better than a $120 room that includes terrible Wi-Fi. But Wi-Fi certainly is critical for me these days, whether it's free or not. And as I've said before, breakfast isn't even remotely a priority for me. I would much rather get out of the hotel and experience something local. And finally, for completeness, half a unit of weighting is attributed to whether the room has tea and coffee making facilities. Possibly a generational thing here, but that isn't important to me at all. So the top 2 criteria for me are location and price, which correlate together quite closely. Then I need a good bed, good Wi-Fi, even if it isn't free, and I'm going to add one thing that wasn't on the Hotels.com analysis, which is a good shower. A bath that I can actually fit in is a plus 2. My assumption is that an acceptable level of cleanliness and staff friendliness is going to be in place in any property that makes it onto an international booking engine. So if I'm going to a new city or going back to a place where I think I can find a better hotel, I have those considerations in mind. I'll then open 2 browser tabs, TripAdvisor and Google Street View. TripAdvisor polarizes opinion, but I quite like it, and I've actually contributed a fair few reviews to it over the years. I also use it to find restaurants when I'm in a city. The criticism is that people think all the reviews are made up or paid for, and some of them probably are. Even real reviews might be unhelpful if expectations are unreasonable. Criticism that there isn't a 24-hour room service facility available is unreasonable if you've only paid $20 for your room. But my intuition can usually weed out those dodgy comments, and if a property has hundreds or even thousands of reviews, the overall rating that they achieve is likely to be pretty reliable. The site then allows you to enter the dates, which will show pricing, which will allow you to narrow the field. So this readily allows you to identify the location and cost factors that are the most significant for me. Then digging a little deeper into the reviews will often yield some more insight into the other factors that I consider important. From this, I try to narrow my shortlist to 3, maybe 5 properties. I'll then flick over to Street View to take a look at the surrounding areas, particularly if I'm not familiar with the city. This will rarely confirm a choice, but it might allow you to eliminate some, particularly if a hotel is located next to a noisy train or bus station. Also, the attention a hotel pays to its exterior is often a clue to the attention they'll pay to their interior. There was a time when I would spend ages finessing this shortlist. perhaps visiting other review sites or finding reports from bloggers who had visited previously. But as I get older, I realise that every decision you make has some element of gamble to it. So as long as the place ticks the obvious boxes, it will be up to me to make the most of the property I choose. If I pay a premium price, I will certainly expect a premium service. But every pound I save versus spending on a super posh hotel goes straight into the kitty to fund the next trip. So these days I adjust my budget and my expectations accordingly, and by approaching things with a positive attitude, I am rarely disappointed by the property that I pick. So once I've narrowed my shortlist to 2 or maybe 3 properties, it's time to actually book. I recently made a video about whether you should book through BA Holidays, which I'll link to up here. Without spoiling that video, my conclusion was that you probably should. If I'm planning to fly to that particular city on BA or with one of its partners, I'll then see if my shortlisted properties are offered by BA Holidays. Doing that won't show you the cost of the property alone, as it will be packaged in with the flights. But that act of packaging will generate a discount which can be significant. So I don't get too stressed about trying to prove whether the BA holiday price for the hotel is the cheapest available. If it's available on the BA Holidays site, I'll generally book it. If you can't book with BA or don't want to, that gives you 2 options: using a booking engine or booking directly with the hotel. When I started scripting this video, I thought I would include an analysis of the leading booking engines. But as I've gone through, this script is already 2,000 words long, and I think it would make a pretty interesting standalone video, so I'm going to park that idea for now. Look out for that video though in the next couple of weeks. The first is that the internet adds such transparency to pricing that in my experience the difference in price between booking engines and hotels is usually negligible. So all things being equal, taking the middleman out of a booking will make it easier to manage changes. As the hotel avoids the payment of a commission when you book directly with them, that gives them the opportunity to sweeten the deal a little, which is something you can take advantage of, particularly if you call them to book and you're happy to haggle for some extras. Hey, if you don't ask, you don't get. But in the real world, all things aren't equal, and the larger booking engines are able to use their scale to give you some of that commission income back in the form of a loyalty program. I'll talk more about this in that video about booking engines, but for me that does tip the balance back in favour of using a booking site. I'm a fan of the hotels.com scheme, which effectively gives you 10% of the value of your bookings back in the form of a free night, which feels quite generous, and it is quite easy to understand and manage. I'm actually now quite interested in that detailed analysis because it will allow me to see whether the hotels.com scheme is as good as I think it is. So there you go, how I pick a hotel and how I go about booking it. Thanks for watching. As usual, please subscribe if you're new, leave me a comment, love to hear from you, and also please like this video as that will help me out with the mysteries of the YouTube algorithm. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.